During the year of our Lord 1169, the political landscape of the Levant was fragmented and incredibly volatile. The Crusader states established during the previous century maintained control over key cities of the Holy Land, including Jerusalem, Tripoli and Antioch, while the surrounding Muslim territories were divided amongst rival dynasties. Into this fractured world rose Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, known to history simply as Saladin. A Kurdish commander serving initially under Nur ad-Din, Saladin quickly distinguished himself by uniting Muslim forces across Egypt and Syria, consolidating power in an effort to reclaim Jerusalem and to push the infidel back into the sea from whence he came. The campaign of Saladin takes us through the most influential moments of this holy war, and it all started in Egypt with the mission Arabian Knight.
Come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet and fly to another Arabian Night. Arabian Night.
Oops, wrong movie.
No prisoners! No prisoners! God!
No, not that one either. Ah, yes, that one.
God wills it.
In this scenario, we are placed at the command of Saladin's early efforts to secure his domains and establish a defensive foothold against Frankish incursions. During this mission, you are charged with ensuring that the vizier of the great city of Cairo, with all of its wealth and prestige, chooses the right path and support the followers of the Prophet with any means at your disposal. This is the first video in a series where we shall go through the missions of the Saracen Campaign and then look into the real history behind them. So join me in this review as we ride through the shifting sands of Egypt and we look at what the missions got wrong, what they got right, and what they simply made up. This is the Age of Histories. Our story begins on the west bank of the Nile, the river that has long been the lifeblood of Egypt and a natural barrier against invaders. Almost immediately, the Saracens encounter a party of Frankish knights, boldly declaring that Egypt will soon fall to their crusade, but are quickly swept aside.
The Holy Land is ours now, and soon Egypt will be as well.
Undeterred, the Saracen army marches along the riverbank, pushing forward while fending off scattered bands of Frankish raiders. These skirmishes test the mettle of the Muslim troops, but the real challenge lies not on just the battlefield, it is in the shifting loyalties and suspicions within the court at Cairo.
Saladin, where are you going with that great army?
To gain better intelligence, Saladin sends a scouting party inland, and this small unit rides past the pyramids of Giza, eternal sentinels of Egypt's ancient glory as they seek out the enemy's main positions. The scouts soon locate the Frankish camp to the south of the main army, and the vanguard rides ahead to deal with them. By the time the main body of the army arrives in the camp, the Frankish garrison has already been overwhelmed and their camp is set ablaze, destroyed to deny them a foothold.
Saladin, I am afraid that I do not trust your motives. Turn back at once!
But tensions rise as the vizier now demands a retreat, unwilling to trust Saladin. His doubts soon harden into betrayal. When the Saracens near the crucial bridge over the Nile, the vizier reveals his true colors.
Myself with the Franks. We will conspire to keep you out of Cairo. Saladin, the Egyptians are cowardly and weak. If we station troops near their main mosque, they will surely surrender.
He intends to ally with the infidel Crusaders, turning against the faith. Whilst crossing the river, a Frankish cannon galleon is found moored at the dock.
Lord Saladin, we have captured the Frankish war vessel.
Which becomes a vital asset, as with this newfound firepower, the Saracens bombard the city gates, softening the defenses for an all-out attack. The defenders desperately sally forth, attempting to push Saladin's army back, yet their efforts fail and the gates finally crumble.
You will not enter Cairo.
Throughout this, the vizier remains defiant, unwilling to abandon his betrayal. As the gates collapse, the army pours into the city. Resistance is minimal, the population having fled and the garrison mostly unwilling to face the onslaught. Sporadic fighting breaks out, however, near the city's mills, but these defenders are swiftly overwhelmed. In a dark moment, an imam within the city turns one of Saladin's soldiers against his skin. Both conspirators are quickly cut down before their treachery can spread. Advancing deeper, they reach the city's main mosque, and with Saladin's force in front of his very eyes, the vizier's resolve breaks.
Saladin, the Franks have betrayed us. They mean to invade Cairo. We were wrong not to trust our fellow Saracens. Please, these troops are yours to command. Just defeat the treacherous Franks.
He sees the futility of his betrayal and sends reinforcements to aid Saladin in driving back the Frankish forces instead. For the time being, this satisfies Saladin as there are more pressing issues. The army regroups in the north of the city and prepares for the next offensive. Before they head out, an imam rallies the men with a stirring sermon, inspiring them to stand firm in the name of the Prophet during the coming battle.
God has sent you this day! You will take no prisoners! As they did, so shall it be done! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Scouts fan out to the east, searching for the main Frankish encampment. And their efforts bear fruit as a fortified enemy outpost housing a substantial force is located. The scout hastens back to relay this crucial information, and with the enemy position known, men-at-arms mount into the siege ram to hasten its movement and prepare to strike the enemy's camp's defensive towers. As the army thunders towards the enemy fortifications, the imam attempts to persuade the tower's defenders to surrender, but Frankish forces are beyond redemption and refuse to yield. Unable to hold the strength of the Saracen attack, the towers collapse, and the cavalry charge into the camp, emboldened by the imam's constant encouragement, and a fierce battle erupts. Despite fierce resistance and the unfortunate defection of one soldier to the Christian faith, the Frankish forces are outmatched. The camp is looted and set ablaze, every enemy combatant slain or captured, and sweeping patrols scour the area but find no survivors.
The Franks have been defeated.
With this decisive victory, the Frankish threat to Egypt is crushed. Saladin's command is secure, marking the beginning of his historic campaign to unite the Muslim world and reclaim Jerusalem. By the mid-12th century, Egypt, once a powerful Islamic center under the Fatimid Caliphate, had fallen into decline. The Fatimids, ruling as Ismaili Shia in a mostly Sunni land, were politically weakened, their authority eroded by court intrigues, famine and military corruption. As the Crusades pressed into the Levant, both Sunni and Shia realms teetered on the edge of collapse. To the northeast, a powerful force was rising in Syria. Nur al-Din, son of the great Zengi of Mosul, had inherited his father's dream of uniting the Muslim world under the banner of Sunni Islam. Capturing Damascus in 1154, Nur al-Din became the champion of the Abbasid Caliph, founding school, building mosques, and preaching jihad against the Crusaders. But he also looked further south, to fractured Egypt as both a strategic and ideological prize. In 1164, civil war broke out in Cairo between two Fatimid viziers. One of them, Shawar, appealed to Nur al-Din for help, to which he responded by sending his trusted general Shirkuh, accompanied by his young Kurdish nephew, Yusuf ibn Ayyub, who is known to history as Saladin. Shirkuh's military brilliance won a series of quick victories, and after several back-and-forth campaigns against Crusader and Egyptian forces, Cairo was secured in 1169. When Shirkuh died shortly after, Saladin, then only in his 30s, was appointed vizier either by Shirkuh's emirs or by the Egyptian elite. Either way, it was a surprising move, but one that would change Islamic history forever. Saladin immediately began strengthening Sunni influence in Egypt. He reformed the tax system, funded Sunni madrasas, and replaced Shia judges with Sunni ones. While officially still serving the Shia Fatimid Caliph, in practice, Egypt was shifting back into the Sunni fold. When the Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid conveniently died in 1171, Saladin seized the moment. He abolished the Fatimid Caliphate entirely, restoring allegiance to the Sunni Abbasids in Baghdad. For the first time in nearly 200 years, Egypt and Syria were spiritually united under one caliphate. Still, Saladin remained officially a servant of Nur al-Din. The Syrian lord watched Saladin's growing power in Egypt with caution and even suspicion. But before any confrontation could occur, Nur al-Din died in 1174, leaving behind a young son and a fractured domain. Saladin acted swiftly. Marching from Egypt with a small but loyal force, he seized Damascus with little resistance, welcomed by the people as a stabilizing Sunni ruler. Over the next decade, he brought Aleppo and much of Syria under his control, skillfully navigating politics and battle alike. By the mid-1180s, Saladin had accomplished what Nur al-Din had only dreamed of: the unification of Egypt and Syria into a single Sunni state. This new Ayyubid dynasty stood not only for a spiritual revival of Islamic unity, but as a military bulwark against the Crusader states. Finally, Saladin's gaze could be turned towards Jerusalem. The first scenario of the Saladin campaign offers us an oversimplified story of swift conquest and heroic leadership. But the real events that unfolded between 1163 and 1168 were far more complex, and far less centered on Saladin himself. In truth, the man leading the Sunni intervention into Egypt during this period was not Saladin, but his uncle, the seasoned general and trusted commander of Nur ad-Din, Shirkuh. Shirkuh spearheaded multiple military expeditions into Egypt as part of the broader power struggle between the declining Fatimids, the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem, and Nur ad-Din's rising state. These campaigns were years-long political chess matches that were played over the whole length of the Egyptian Nile, and not just a simple conquest as the mission lays out. Furthermore, at the time, Saladin was a relatively minor figure whilst he accompanied his uncle and actually served under him and was not the commander. He had neither the authority nor the renown to lead such a crucial mission, and it was only during the various campaigns in Egypt and his efforts in securing the region that Saladin emerged as a key player. And even then, his rise was not immediate nor inevitable. So while Saladin would eventually become the leader of the Islamic push against the Crusaders by the time of the second scenario of the campaign, the events in Egypt during the 1160s were not his campaign, but they were Shirkuh's. On a separate note, the positioning of the main Frankish force to the east of Cairo seems to be a nod to the more dramatic engagements of the Egyptian conflict, the fighting at Bilbais in 1164. Located northeast of Cairo, Bilbais was the site where the Crusader forces, led by King Amalric I of Jerusalem, clashed with Shirkuh's army in one of the early major confrontations of the campaign. The Crusaders, having entered Egypt to exact tribute owed to them by Shawar, found themselves in a long prolonged siege against Shirkuh, who had entrenched himself in the town following requests by Shawar for assistance against this Crusader threat. The standoff lasted several weeks and evolved into a grueling test of endurance. It was not a pitched battle in the traditional sense, but a strategic stalemate, each side wary of committing too heavily and risking a wider collapse. Eventually, political and diplomatic maneuvering by all sides resulted in a withdrawal of both forces to their respective lands, ending the confrontation without a decisive victor. And finally, one obvious thing that must be mentioned is the Frankish cannon galleon that you conveniently find moored just outside the city gates. Gunpowder did not arrive in the Levant until the mid-13th century, about 100 years after the mission's setting, with the first Mamluk forces reported use of early hand cannons dating to the late 13th or early 14th centuries. Furthermore, the first recorded use of a cannon on a ship is recorded sometime in the 1330s, when Mediterranean navies, particularly those of Genoa and Venice, began mounting small bombards on galleys for use in naval warfare. So yeah, it is safe to say that the cannon galleon was a complete anachronistic invention by the devs for gameplay reasons, and still lives on today as a classic part of this mission. Overall, this scenario does a fair job at introducing us to the self-serving environment that Saladin found himself embroiled when he arrived in Egypt in the 1160s. Even though many liberties are taken, as with any mission in this game, this scenario does manage to grab the essence of the struggle, intrigue and general politicking that Saladin had to push through in order to secure Egypt, and before he could even consolidate power in order to face the Crusaders head-on. If you have enjoyed this format, please be sure to comment, share and like this video, as it truly helps immensely. And we shall continue our journey with Saladin with the next scenario from the Saracen Campaign as we attempt to defend the trade routes from Renal de Chatillon and his raiders. But goodbye for now, and thank you for watching.